Hey, word on the street, nigga, Kris is a suspect.
Oh man, goddamn, bro. We got one from that boy, Anomaly. Shout outs to Anomaly, man. I got like, I don't know how many songs with this dude. Yeah, he used to be a rapper, dog. You see this boy right here? This boy Anomaly. The Jesus looking dude. Yeah. Oh yeah, see this broad right here? This Android 18 from Dragon Ball Z. I got the shirt too. I got the search links in the description, yo, if you want more. I got that one and that one. You can't get this one yet, but one day. But I'm gonna just go ahead and get into this one. I can't even say this word. Dricus Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. Africa racism explained. The UFC destroys other leagues. I feel so illiterate when saying that, dog.
So here is that clip of Dana White shutting down claims of racism like a boss, and you won't see this in other sports leagues. You just won't. Here's the clip, and if you're against cursing, I apologize. This clip has curses in it. It is what it is. I'm not going to censor them.
You know, I know you say, hey, this is the fight.
Me neither.
People say nasty things, right? But the tension between those two and kind of the racial undertones and all those things, how do you...
What were the racial undertones?
Dricus says he's the real African fighter, and so, you know, Israel dropped some N-words in there tonight.
What?
So what was the racial? Who did? Who dropped the racial?
Israel was saying over and over, yeah.
He's black.
50 N-bombs in
there. Okay, he's black. Who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit?
I could care less. This is the fight business. Israel.
Who gives a shit? He's black.
Who gives a shit? Why are people bitching about that?
Some people.
Of course they are.
Of course they are.
All right, got it.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
all right.
Too fucking bad.
Last thing for me then.
So he said, who gives a shit, too effing bad? That's his response.
Oh my God.
Before I talk about why he's saying that and what the controversy even is, I need to explain to people how important this is and how rare it is for a CEO of a sports league to just not even care and brush this type of stuff off. You don't see that, not in the MLB, not in the NBA, not in the NFL. Recently, my friend brought it to my attention today that a Blue Jays player had to apologize because he shared a hurtful video about a Target and a Bud Light boycott. So the conservative Bud Light and Target boycotts that are going on, a baseball player agreed with that, apologized, and then he got released from the team. In the MLB, the Major League Baseball, and I'm not trying to compare it to like a camp or something because these guys make a lot of money, but it's very communist China-esque where it's like if you don't go along with the regime, you can't play in this league. They pay these guys the big contracts in the MLB, the NBA, the NFL, and then they can't say anything. And then they get kicked out of the league if they ever even do. I mean, a Bud Light boycott, who cares? Who cares? That's nothing. That's like 1/8 as crazy as anything that has been said in the UFC.
And maybe that's where we fucked up, you guys. We let women vote. No offense, but let me I want to tell you guys something. Think about America prior to women voting.
And this guy comes out and has to apologize in the MLB. He says, I'm sorry. I realized what I said was hurtful. My bad. I realized I hurt a whole community. And then they kick him out of the team. In the UFC, with Dana White as the CEO, who went against lockdowns, by the way, he had a lot of events in Florida with the help of Governor DeSantis. And the UFC said, we're not locking down like everyone else. So they held events for years, which helped propel the UFC because as everyone else is locked down and scared, they're letting people fight in Florida. I think it was in Jacksonville for a while. But long story short, they're trying to hype up this racial tension. Most other CEOs would say, oh my gosh, we got to talk to this guy. He's got to go on an ADL tour or talk to BLM or whatever the organization of the day is. We're so sorry. We're going to fine him. You get fined in the NBA for saying no homo, which doesn't even make sense. It's not even hateful because if you're like, hey, that looks good on that guy, no homo, you're not even saying you hate gay people or you don't like them. You're just saying, I'm not gay. I don't want you to think I'm gay, but you have a nice shirt on. It's the same as if a gay guy was like, yo, that woman, she's pretty,
no hetero.
No straight though. I'm not straight.
No hetero.
You get what I'm saying? It's not even a hateful phrase. Yet in the NBA, you get fined. They steal your money if you say no homo. That's how crazy it is. So, you know, every other sports league.
I never said no homo because I felt like, hey, bro, I wouldn't even think about it like that. You're gay, but whatever.
Before I even tell you what the controversy is about, is like communist Chinese-esque, except instead of protecting China and the Chinese people like communist China does, they're protecting God knows what, far left commie style agenda. It's insane. So I appreciate Dana so much for just being like, who cares? It's the fight business. They can say whatever they want. You have Bryce Mitchell, who has questioned school shootings. You've had Sean Strickland, who says women shouldn't vote. You have Israel Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis, which I'm about to talk about, with racial African tension. And Dana White's like, I'm not the listen, they're fighters. You know, they're going to say what they want. It is what it is. Deal with it. I love it. Thank you, Dana White, for being the realest sports CEO probably ever, definitely in modern history. With that being said, I want to explain what the racial tension is. It's actually interesting. I've spoken about it slightly months ago. Now it's getting more interesting because the white guy from South Africa actually won. Now he's going to fight for the championship. But anyway, you have a white South African named Dricus du Plessis.
Oh, he's white?
He's white, but he's been born and raised in South Africa. He fights out of South Africa. He lives in South Africa.
That makes it way more interesting. I did not know he was white, so white guy said he's the real star. He's the real African. That's hilarious, bro. Oh, that is prestige
he trains
marketing.
In South Africa. If he wins the belt, man, he's going to take the championship back to South Africa. And he basically said that. He said, I'm the real African.
I'm going to take it back to Africa. I'm the African fighter in the UFC. Myself and Cameron, we breathe the African air. We wake up in Africa every day.
Oh, this is
we
hilarious.
Train in Africa. We're African born. We're African raised. We still reside in Africa. We train out of Africa.
Oh, my God.
That's an African champion, and that's who I'll be.
You know, the other guy,
man,
the black guy,
hilarious.
his name is Israel Adesanya. He, I think, was mostly raised in New Zealand. He doesn't live or take the belt back to Nigeria. So that's what Dricus du Plessis said. He said, I'm the real African. When I win the championship, is going back to Africa. You know, I eat in Africa, I breathe in Africa, I sleep in Africa, I train in Africa. I'm the real African champion. And now there's racial tension because, you know, Israel Adesanya, who's the black guy who doesn't live in Africa, says, well, I'm really African because my DNA is African. If you took a 23andMe test, you're not really African. It's not that big of a deal, but I do think culturally it's very relevant because there's two different things going on, nation and race. Race is who you are inside. I think some of the fighters have made this like, it's your DNA. If I moved to China and I was born and raised in China, would you look at me and say, hey, Anomaly, you're Chinese? You probably wouldn't, even if I was born and raised in China.
You know, just because I go to China and my parents are in China and I'm raised in China, that doesn't make me more Chinese than the people from China.
And you could say that and everyone understands it's like, even if Anomaly...
It's a controversial subject. They're really both right, but so you know how that go.
Is born and raised in China, I would never look at him and think he's Chinese, and I don't know if I would even consider him Chinese because he's not. And some would say you are Chinese. Anyway, long story short, the West, I guess people will call it, Europe, America. If you say that to somebody, they say you're racist. Like, oh, that's racist if you don't think this refugee is truly French. But it's a conversation that's being had all over the world of like, what is race versus nation? If you're white and you live in Africa, are you really African? If you're black, are you really African? I see both sides of it. Nation-wise, Dricus du Plessis is right. He is nationally African. Racial-wise, Israel Adesanya has a point. He's African genetically. I don't really care, either way. It's like I don't care which side of the fence people are on. It's not a big deal to me. So I don't think it's overly hyped or you're racist. If you say I'm African because I'm black, or you say I'm African because I was born and raised here, who cares? It's nation versus race. Do you consider the nation what makes you African? Do you consider the race what makes you African? Some people see it on both sides. Whichever side you see it on, I like the fact that the fight business is
I'm both sides. That's me. I'm both sides.
Fight business. They just fight it out. There's no crying about it. There's no racism. There's no fines. You step in the ring. The best man wins. Doesn't matter what race or nation you're from. That's what makes the UFC awesome. With that being said, before I get in my next story, I just want to tell you guys about my weekend. I bought tickets to see the UFC event. I'm a big fight fan. I like the fact that these UFC fighters are outspoken. I'm tired of other sports. I don't even watch other sports anymore because it's so boring. Oh, I said a bad word. I have to apologize. Oh, I'm conservative. I'm so sorry for being conservative. Let me play baseball. Shut up. It's so lame. It's so commie. It's like these sports leagues are basically just taking the strong men in America and all over the world, luring them with big contracts into these sports leagues, and then shutting them up. I'm starting to think that these sports are like controlled. I'm not saying you're controlled if you play sports, but the fact that it's like, here, we'll give you 50 million, 10 million, 5 million, and shut you up as a strong man. We need our strong men to speak out.
I was gonna say now shut your ass up, but yeah, you got it.
You know, we can't have them bottled down in a league that finds you for speaking the truth or being conservative. So I like the UFC on multiple levels. Fighting is badass, and the fact that Dana doesn't shut his fighters up and they say whatever they want, it's super cool. Long story short, I went to Vegas. It was International Fight Week, and I was doing some networking too. I wasn't just there for fun. A lot of fighters are, I wouldn't say fans of mine, but they follow me. I've noticed that more than any other sport. A lot of fighters like will comment and say stuff. So I wanted to meet some of my friends. I did. I networked. I hung out. Went to the event. It was super cool. And I'm gonna try to combine both worlds. I don't want to like force a sport down your throat or anything. But
God damn, you got a 500,000 followers, dog. Jesus Christ, dog.
Fighters are way cooler and way more manly and way more conservative.
He's following me on Instagram, by the way. Oh yeah, I'm cool. Cloud points.
Than most other athletes, and they have a voice and they have thoughts and they're not dumb. So I'm gonna try to bring more fighters onto my show, even to talk about events, maybe get into UFC media or something. So I wasn't just having like a Vegas vacation for fun. It was like a, you know, double. I did have a great time, obviously, but it was like a networking event too. I was like, let me meet some people in person. Let me hang out, see how this sport works, and super huge success. I had a great weekend, and it's super cool to see these worlds colliding. And I think I'll hopefully play a big role in helping that happen, because having a CEO like Dana White, you know, Trump got a huge applause there. He got bigger applause than Guy Fieri and Israel Adesanya. These people are way more conservative than most sports fans. It's really cool to see. Dope stuff.
Man, hold them up, Anomaly. Man, hold them up. I couldn't agree more. I mean, they're both right, but you know how that stuff go, man. That's all, folks.
I'm a suspect. Ain't no